Get closer.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Joshua Sandstrom and Nick Rose.
Good morning, good morning. Happy Saturday. What a beautiful day. We have a lot in store today, and it's very, we're having a good time. Who's having a really good time here? Do you like it here at Art of Living? Yes. Yeah? Should we consider doing this again? Yes. If we were to do it again, would you tell your friends about it and see if you could get them to come with you and fill up this room? Yes. All right. Well, let's set our eyes on that. So we passed out some things here in the room, and for folks at home, this applies to you, but we'll be sending it to you via your inbox. We have some very exciting upcoming events at Life Force Academy, and events are really becoming, we've realized that bringing people together in person is at the heart of what we're about, and helping people meet other people like themselves, being inspired by doing group practice together in amazing places like temples like this, and all the things that we're experiencing here. And so we're ramping that up a bit, and we're really wanting to get more people in these rooms, having these experiences, taking it home with them, and bettering whatever they do. So with that, just coming up next month in November, the Awaken the Heart Retreat with Jai Dave down in Tulum, Mexico is coming up. And just all these QR codes will take you right to the info for that event and everything you need to know. December, Winter Solstice Retreat at Menla Retreat Center in the Catskills, one of our favorite places we've been to many times. And although that's coming right up, we're very excited to go back. There's a whole community in the New York City area that's it's a very quick trip up there for them. And anyone here who wants to come to Menla, you've never been, love to see you there. Very exciting to me and very close to my heart is what we're doing in April, and that's the Sacred Valley Immersion in Peru. And I know a lot of you have already showed interest in that and been talking to me about that. When are we going to be revealing all the details? And they're coming very soon, but we could tell from the interest already, I expect that to be a really, really good time. And it's somewhere that I've been many times over the past 20 years of my life and have deep, deep connections and roots there, friends, family, people. So very connected with what's happening on the ground there, with the sacred sites and with the cultural preservation and with all the goodness. And if you've ever wanted to go to that part of the world, this is a really, really excellent way to do it. Come with us. It's going to be fun. And lastly on this is our June immersion, which doesn't feel that far away anymore, next year at Mount Madonna Retreat Center in the Santa Cruz Mountains above Monterey Bay. We're looking east, watching the sun rise, and there we're looking west, watching the sun set. And so that's what this is all about. All these little codes will get you somewhere else. We're trying to save paper, put it all on one.
Wait a second. It's like, this is not just watching the sunrise here. This is like watching the sunrise on top of this mountain temple. And the same is true at Mount Madonna on the other side, most majestic sunset spots that you'll find on the earth.
It's true. It's very true. And that's what's so cool about these places where we go is we're partnering with these locations that are very powerful, so powerful that previous people felt it too and created these temples and these centers. We're called to deliver that to the planet. And then part of our work is going around together and lighting these places up like we were doing in here this morning. This morning was powerful in here, right? And the meditation and the yoga set and all of that. So that's what it's about. It's about intentional journeys to very special places to do very important work in the uplifted atmosphere of our togetherness and the location. And it's amazing. And transformations occur that can't really be undone, right? It's like there's these kinds of, some things can be undone, right? The ice can melt, and it can refreeze, but some transformations, they stay. And that's kind of the idea, is let's use all these things to our advantage and do the good work. So it's exciting. So I hope to see a lot of you there. I know we will. And that's our upcoming event. Additionally, on your mats is our lovely order forms that lists out our courses, our membership, our upcoming teacher training that we talked about a little bit yesterday and gave you the cards for. But that's just what we do here at these events is we go ahead and discount all that stuff below even our sale prices. We make it the most affordable we can to make it available to you so that if you have had your eye on any of that stuff or thought, hey, that would be interesting to do someday, maybe today's the day. And it helps us make the wheels go around here at Life Force Academy, keeps our sales full, and we love you, doing this work, doing this course work with us, and cultivating yourselves in that way, The only thing more I'll say about that is for this event specifically, the yoga astrology course that we've been talking a lot about. It's listed on here at a certain price in the $350 or so, but we wanted to bring that, make that super duper more available for people here. And so we were going to take that all the way down to $295. So if anyone here is very excited about the yogic astrology, wants to jump into that course, it's just an event special price at $295. It doesn't say that on your order form, but we will take care of that in the lobby with you before you go. So that's that. Those are available for the event while you're here, and for folks at home, they're also available to you, and we'll be sending out information about that. Lastly, and most importantly, I'm going to introduce Mr. Nick Rose for our Zoom at-home contest giveaway winners.
We need a better name for that contest. The Zoom, the Zoom at-home contest. The LFA will come up. By next immersion, we'll have a good name.
Okay, what's up, everybody? Today is Josh's birthday.
Dang! Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday.
All right.
Happy birthday, Josh.
All right, we love you, Josh. Okay.
Now you do the solo version of that.
I'm not a singer. Okay, all right, so today on the Zoom, what's up, Zoom fam? We are giving away a virtual ticket to the Winter Solstice Immersion, starting on December 18th to December 21st.
That's a good gift.
It's a good gift.
It's a
You
good
heard it
gift.
here first. It's a good gift.
Because then, well, like if they actually did it, then be like, boom. It'll be like one of the best solstices probably of life, don't you think?
And we do these giveaways for the virtual people because we want to see their beautiful faces doing the practice with us. And it's really been working. A lot of people, most of the people who are doing it live with us are in the Zoom. There will be more people who do it on demand after or whatever, but it's really been working. So thanks everybody for joining in with us. All right, can we get a drum roll? Remember this is delayed, but let's get a drum roll. Today's winner is Preeti Kaur / Esther.
Preeti Kaur. Pretty.
Where is she? There we go. All right.
That's awesome.
All right, congrats, Preeti. We're going to send you an email with all the info. All right, that's all.
All right, everyone, enjoy your session.
Bravo. Thank you, fellas. The thing about the yoga, the reason why I'm really, the most thing I'm enthusiastic about is you learning to know your own chart. I'm much more enthusiastic about that than getting a reading. Don't get me wrong, getting a reading is a beautiful, wonderful thing, you know. When you get a reading from, you know, knowledgeable Jyotish practitioner or any great, you know, person who has a nice intuition. So much of it is intuition. That's what I like about astrology. Some people think that's the reason why it's not a science or whatever. More Venus for you. Keep it dreamy, you know, and mysterious. It's also an art, you know, so much of it is to be able to kind of interpret it through bodhicitta, through intuition, and because also we have a subconscious mind, and if I'm giving a reading, I have a subconscious mind, so I don't want my subconscious mind and my limited perceptions or my own emotional energies being, kind of inserting themselves into something that has nothing to do with that. You know, we're just trying to get to, you know, the nature of things and to understand in a practical way, but also a meaningful way that is malleable to our own experience. So in other words, we're not limiting our possibilities because of an expectation based on an astrological interpretation. Are you with me? So that this is going to happen. Well, there could be tendencies towards this type of a thing happening, absolutely. But also you're yogini, and you can work directly with the planets. You can because you can work directly with your prana, and you're working directly with the chakras. Remember? So kind of one of the heart of an LFA immersion for me, and we provide, and I'm sure people at home are doing this much less than when the people who come in person, but I know also some of the people doing it at home do the full immersion style where first, before the morning session, 62 minutes of Longa Konkar. That's our staple. And it takes the whole thing to a different level, doesn't it? And I know, for instance, Nima shared with me, so she got up and she did it, and then did the first session after that. And already it's quite early in California. And so, but it's cool. Like, it's cool to be up early, and it's because it's super mystical. It's hard to do it, when you're in bed, Lord have mercy, It's the coziest time of the morning. It's the time you least likely to get out of bed, just before the sunrise. And so, but when you get to the nectar, the next morning it's not as hard to get out. And so when, for instance, sometimes I'll share that you can use the Long Ekonkar chant to work through the chakras as a way of the mind having some additional focal point. But what that is a technique for dharana, for concentrating the prana, for getting the mind to concentrate on the activity of the kriya, of the meditation. Eventually, that also needs to be abandoned. How do you know? It doesn't need to be abandoned, you can just do it, but what's going to happen is it will be abandoned because dhyana will start to take place. You'll enter into a different state of awareness where you sometimes call it meditative state, but it's not like there's just one meditative state. Our psyches are multifaceted, profound. So, due to the density of the mind and the mind's activity operating in a bit of a turbulent density, then we have no access to many of the facets and many of the much more subtle facets of our psyche. So, by putting the attention, first lower triangle. So Muladhara chakra at the bottom, earth element, Saturn. Second chakra, Swadhisthana, water element, Guru, Jupiter. But already we've limited it because I just called second chakra Jupiter. So now we're like, okay, Jupiter is the second chakra? It's water element. Well, Jupiter does govern children, offspring, etc. But it's also Venus is the second chakra too, because she's sexuality. And also Mars is part of the second chakra too, because it is penetration, the feminine and the masculine poles of sexuality. So this is my point. This is a technique for dharana. It's not an intellectual activity at its essence. It is using the intellect, some basic understanding, but at the end of the day, that understanding is being utilized as a point of focus for the mind to put its energy, to put its awareness, and even to put its devotion. So devotion is how we take the love inside of us and direct it in the fashion of our desire, to whatever object of our desire is. So, also, my life, Saturn, aging, I want that all. I want the Saturn energy to be harmonious. So not only can I say ik, because it's Saturn and it's root chakra, but it's because it's my life. And it's because of, I'm able to directly, through the science, be able to directly connect the Muladhara chakra to my life. My ability to feel good and safe, my ability to kind of feel strong on the earth. Feel safe. That's why yogis say, when the infant is born, try to keep them on the mother, within the aura of the mother, for the first 40 days, if possible. That in and of itself is a bit of a sadhana, because for the mom, and it's a blissful one, albeit a very challenging one. But, we don't have to be about things, but why? Because that's the time where the energy at the Muladhara chakra is developing in the infant. And so, if the baby feels safe, really safe, like exceptionally safe in those first 40 days, that will benefit their entire life. So this is an act of love. So and what could go wrong, Well, the mom could get totally overwhelmed and irritable and grouchy and take him, totally. Keep it real, It takes a team, doesn't it? Yeah, and we're not supposed to be raising these little babies all by ourselves, especially not just a mom with no dad, but sometimes that happens. So compassion, compassion will lead the way. With compassion, and compassion keeps us from bypassing things, bypassing our own suffering. Because it's too much. Without compassion, it's too much to bear. So you kind of got to stuff it away. With compassion, it's never too much to bear. So, with compassion, we'll get through whatever our situation is. That's that mythological story. That's that story. The story of the child with no father present. That will be a huge part of their story. But it's not a bad story, it's a challenging story that will lead to something incredible. When we're following the heart, when we're opening up into life. So it's both. And so this is how we can hold both, a kind of larger perspective and understanding of something that is unfolded. That's why we have phrases in our life, the Lord works in mysterious ways. Because what else are you going to say? It's true, because we feel that. We feel like this is horrible, and somehow there's love present. Wow, what is it all? So, but then what it makes you do is you have that experience, and that young man will grow up and change that reality, often for many others. And it's what starts as a negative becomes a positive. That's the creative expression of that story. Of course, there's the destructive expressions of our stories. It's the same mythological qualities that go in a different direction, where that young man becomes addicted to some substance that's very destructive. Because he's hurt. He's not a bad person. He's hurt. Didn't have resources. If you throw one thing on top of another, if you don't have a father, there's not money around. This can happen to anyone across the board, at any family. You never know what's going to happen. Act like any of us are immune to any of this is, I think, ignorance. I can speak to myself. I'm not pointing fingers to the least. And so that needs compassion. And that's why in a society, all the different traditions say, the way to take care of a society is to take care of the most vulnerable. And to not put the most vulnerable down. Who cares how it ended up this way? The point is, take care of the vulnerable. And so we'll see. We see what happens when you don't do that. Let's watch. We'll see. We've seen it all through history. Well, let's watch it again. We might just have to. We might, though, use our own hearts, use our own voice, love in every direction. It doesn't make us divisive. I'm not insinuating you share the same feeling as me about this. I certainly don't need anyone to. This is just me. but it feels super clear. And so it doesn't make me love someone any less that is divisive to this point of view. It really doesn't. Maybe like them a little less sometimes, depending on the situation. Like, come on. But that's just me. That's just me. I love you anyway, even if you are wrong. It's true, My point is, this does not to enter meditative states and to be able to have grander perspective on things, which is what the yogic practices do. I'm not saying my perspective is grander. That's not the point. But to have grander perspective on things, my point is, does not necessarily make us passive. Are you with me? Because, I can see the good and the bad in it. To me, that's missed the point. The key is to uplift. The way to happiness is to be helpful. The way of happiness is to follow heart, and follow truth and what is real and what is good. And often we have to wrestle with those things. Often we have to wrestle with those things. Not outside, not with our neighbors in our community, but within ourselves. What is real? What is right? What is true? What is good? What don't I even know that I'm pretending to know? That to me is the big one. What don't I actually know, but I'm kind of pretending that I do? Pretending even to myself. I don't know, So some of us really know. Some of us have really strong Jupiters, and we really know. And you kind of just know everything. And most of the time you're right. Most of the time you're right. But that doesn't mean it's still not narcissistic. Are you with me? Sometimes it's not the moment, Sometimes it's not. And that's what Saturn will come in and say. So sometimes it's not the moment. Because it's not about what you know. It's about what you serve. And how to be helpful, and how to add our creativity to life. And it need not be in any one particular way. It's going to be in your way, in the way of your story. It's how we smile at our children. I once watched this thing with Toni Morrison where she had given the advice. She was saying how, she noticed anytime her kid, the great Toni Morrison, she was watching how one of when her children would come into the room, she would habitually kind of like look at them like, what's wrong with you? And any parent knows this. Everything, it's out of love, but you're like, what's wrong, And she noticed herself like habitually giving like a bit of a grimace, when they would come around. Because your parents, you're stressed, you're trying to like take care of everything, and you're one of the things I got to take care of. And she just changed that habit. Make sure every time they come in the room, just warm and smile. I was fortunate enough to hear her say that when my boy was a little baby. And I practiced that. Haven't been perfect. But I've been all right, I bet. And so this is what I mean. These are the little things, Toni Morrison blessed me by following her heart. So we're all connected, And it's not just like these great icons. It's all of us that's happening with. You said that to that person, and it landed, and it kind of stayed with them. And that transferred, So that's beautiful. That's why I really like this astrology course too. So what we do, it's the yogic astrology, the way we teach it, the way I teach it. And I've had great teachers, and I also kind of have my own style. If you want to get a reading from a great person, we can send you Drupada, my teacher's email to his assistant, and just be prepared to wait 2 years or so, But you might as well get on the list. And when it comes around, you'll love it. If you want to, if you want to. And there's lots of other great ones. But what I want you to do is learn it yourself. That's when it really becomes helpful. And so this is for people who have backgrounds in astrology, love it. But this is also for people who know zero. You can start at zero and do this course, and we break it. It's the fundamentals. It's not overly complicated. It's the fundamentals. And what are the building blocks we use in astrology? There are three. The planets, grahas, 9 grahas, Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, Venus, Mercury. 2 luminaries, Sun and Moon. And then the 2 shadow, Chaya grahas, the 2 shadow planets you only see during eclipse, Rahu, Ketu. So you have 9 forces, then you have 12 constellations. So the first is the 9 planets, the second is the bhavas, the rashis, the 12 constellations. This is what we know as Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, etc. And the first thing you got to do in this course, the first thing you're going to be asked to do, you have to memorize the order of the constellations. This is what you have to do. There's a couple memorization things you have to do at the beginning, or the whole thing is kind of like you have to work too hard to know what I'm talking about. But if you and it's not hard, if you wanted to, if you skip the rest of the day, don't do any of these classes, and just go memorize the 12 constellations, by evening we could quiz you, you would have it, So, but I think that would be a dumb move. Don't miss the classes. So Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. It's like that, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, eventually. At first it won't be like that, so you have to move a little slower, and we do move slow. We move slow in the course, because I'm all about fundamentals, whether it's Kundalini Yoga, Ayurveda, Jyotish, I'm all about fundamentals. Keep it simple. These things can be vastly complicated, and a lot of people love that and want to go, especially if you're going to be a practitioner, you get more into the complicated side of things because you need to, or some people want to. You don't need to. And so that's not what this is. This is for everyday people who enjoy communing with the cosmos and want to give some language to that. And so you learn the planets first, and then we go through each one, of course. What are the qualities? What are they? What do they represent in our life? What do they represent in the body? What do they represent in the mind? Etc. Jupiter, Saturn, da-da-da-da. Then you go through all 12 constellations. That takes a couple modules, each one of them. Constellations, rashis, are fields of energy. Planets are forces of energy moving through fields of energy. Yeah? That's what's happening all the time in our zodiac. All the time. Right underneath me right now, if you go to the other side of the earth, this is my this is our, right now. A baby being born this moment, that is their 4th house, the constellation that would be on the other side of the earth, underneath us. Home, mother. Right up above us, the constellation that's right up above us right now, is the 10th house. Career. Not career, dharma in action. What are you going to do with in the world? How you take your dharma and bring it to the world. Dharma in action. You smile at your children when they come in the room. That's one way we do it. But then, somehow we put it into action in a more intentional and systematic way. Whether that is a career, whether it's that you do something during the day. You go out into the world and you do something. And that happens in the 10th house. Okay? So the planets, the constellations, are fields of energy. The houses are the domains of life. And those are the 3 fundamentals. Planets, constellations, and domains of life. Bhava, houses. The ascendant, the eastern horizon over there, that is always the 1st house. So for this, if we want to take a horoscope for this moment, whatever's on the eastern horizon is the 1st house. And that's called your lagna. So in Vedic astrology, we don't start with the sun. We're not looking at your sun sign. Because the most common thing you hear from people, if they know just a touch about Vedic astrology, is like, oh, I am a Virgo in Vedic astrology and I'm a Libra in Western astrology. Okay, that's if you're looking at the sun. Yes, that's true, but don't even worry about that. Go just into this chart when you're in this chart. If you're going into that other chart, go into that other chart another time, is what I would recommend. They don't actually contradict each other, but that confuses people. How can I be this in one and that in one and they both be true? Well, because life isn't just black or white. It's a sphere. Things can be looked at from multiple perspectives, and multiple things can be relatively true from that perspective. That's why the other side of it has to be intuition. So it provides this wonderful structure for you to dial and to attune your mind to what is going on, not to what we hope is going on or what we hope is not going on, but to be able to attune to what is going on actually, based on my experience. Oh yeah, I am like that. Oh yeah, I am like that. And then you get to refine a little bit. So the most fundamental thing that yogic astrology does for me, and I think for many others, and this isn't the fun part of it, and maybe I shouldn't even be saying this when I'm trying to actually sell you a course, but it shines a light on my blind spots. It's simple to see. Oh, I'm a Capricorn. Very ambitious, very go after it, da-da, and very good at that. So as any ascendant, this is whatever constellation's in the first house at the time you were born, whatever ascendant, that is going to be your dominant tendencies, definitely. And it's not the only thing. That's the nucleus seat, the first house that then is going to be colored by everything else. And then the first thing we look at after the ascendant is where is the Lord of that ascendant. So when somebody asks, what are you? I'm not thinking the sun sign. I'm first thinking, what is the ascendant and where is the Lord of their ascendant? The Lagna and what they call the Lagnesh. So if you were born with Capricorn on the ascendant, then we're most interested next in finding out where is Saturn in your chart, because Saturn will be a very important planet for you. And then everything else. And then after that, we go to the moon. Where was the moon when you were born? What nakshatra was it in? You know? What was the day of the moon? Was it a full moon? Was it a new moon? Was it waxing? Was it waning? These are all going to tell us substantive things, but they're going to tell us, because then what we want to, well, what does that mean? Say, well, it means this, but that's also kind of not what it really means. Why? Because you need to learn a few principles about your chart and what each of them mean individually, and then you blend it together. Or in other words, it will blend together naturally, because you'll be like, oh yeah, that is true. But you won't fully get it at first. You'll be like, oh yeah, that is true. And then you go and you start to learn, it's like, oh. And then you get the moon part of it. And so at first we're just ascendant, Lord of the ascendant, moon. That's a lot to start with. It's a lot to start with. But then we keep going and you learn all the principles. And what happens is, this is probably a course, if you love it, something that you're going to not take once, but something that normally, if you're anything like me with something like this, you're probably going to at least listen to again and again. That's why we provide them in both video and audio, because often, usually, especially with learning astrology, you want the video. And our Yogic Astrology course has a 200-page book. It's digital. And it's beautifully done. And by learning all the ascendants, what do? We go through people that we all know and love. Or some people, mostly I choose people that we like. I don't like doing here's this dictator's chart, That's for a later course. But people we all know, and you can say, okay, Michael Jordan. We kind of know that archetype. What? Mars in Cancer debilitated? That doesn't make any sense, but it does. But you got to learn a little more. And you see how it actually, if you watch The Last Dance, which many people did, the documentary that showed all of those great years in Chicago, and you see how amazing he was and how pathologically competitive. Mars debilitated. But this Mars debilitated had a special quality that turned him also into the greatest basketball player that ever lived. But there was other things he struggled, of course. Human beings struggle. We see these as invincible, but they're very much struggling in their inner life, of course. Fame is no joke. Some kills some people. They can't handle it, you know. And then so the drugs become more powerful, or even suicide, you know. So just because someone's famous doesn't, shouldn't I see all great things for this famous person? No, not necessarily. There'll be something that will cause that magnetic quality to occur, but then they will also have all the dramas, you know, just like we all have. So what is the great dramas of our life? Some of them are challenges, some of them, and this is also, I always, you know, it's really, like it will quickly become a thing. It will quickly become apparent if you look at it enough that this isn't like, does it work or not? It's sometimes like, wow, that's in the stars. There's this system in Vedic astrology, a Drakana system, where what they do is they take the first 10 degrees, they separate each sign. A sign is 30 degrees. So if Aries is on the eastern horizon, from the eastern horizon down 30 degrees would be Aries. The next 30 degrees would be Taurus. The next 30 degrees would be Gemini, and so forth. Are you with me? No? Kind of? So a sign is 30 degrees. So what astrologers do in this Drakana system is they separate each constellation in thirds. So you have the first Drakana of Aries is the first 10 degrees of Aries. You have the second Drakana of Aries is the 10 through 20, and 20 degrees through 30 degrees is the third Drakana of Aries. And it goes through all 12 signs like that. And each one is almost kind of like a tarot card, and they're very difficult to interpret most of the time. And yet sometimes you get something like, wow. And this is one example of how these types of kind of insights can occur. But for me, as a young man who grew up in South Carolina, I just learned this Drakana piece just a few years ago. So what you do is you would go in your chart to one of your focal points of your chart, ascendant, lord of the ascendant, or moon. And then you would find what Drakana is there. And then you would look at that. And you would maybe make something meaningful out of it, maybe not. Second Drakana of Taurus, okay, it's a woman. She's shapely like a water jug. She's wearing flowing garments that are fringed and burnt at the end. Interesting kind of very symbolic, not often obvious interpretations, but these astrologers and these systems go back thousands of years. It's the oldest science we have, really. But they're arts too. That's why materialist scientists don't consider it a science. So, but of course it absolutely is. And we just have to agree on what is the definition of science. That's really what we're talking about. So you go to the focal points of that person's and you read the Drakana. So if you went to one of my focal points, it says there's a man there. He has hair on his body. He has a cloth wrapped around his head. And he's counting his profits and expenditures. This is me. But if this was a child born, say, in Punjab, in India, where every young man will have a hair wrap around their head, well, okay, fine, and most of them, by the way, are not like this. I've seen a couple others that are like this, but most of them are like, I don't know, in the Drakana system. But that's you learn about that later. But that just blew my mind, I was like, wow. And so it's cool. So you get those types of moments. And my point is, it kind of like opens you up a little bit. So that's powerful stuff when that type of thing happens, because then it starts to become kind of undeniable. And you'll have moments like that, something that has to do with your mother or your father or your story, and I'll be like, whoa, And then also, it's like, okay, there's a cosmology to this, There's some rhythm to this. There's something, there's some great thing happening. So it's a beautiful way to spend time learning this stuff, just the fundamentals, We go, Jeff Buckley is the Cancer, if anybody's a Jeff. I just on the plane ride over here watched this new documentary about Jeff Buckley, which I love watching documentaries when I have the chart of the person too, because then not because, let's see what I know, no, because it teaches me. It's like, it brings this Ashlesha Cancer guy. He's a Cancer ascendant, we're talking now, right? Not what day he was born. Because why? The ascendant changes 12 times in 24 hours, the rising sign. So two people born on the same day, a few hours apart, totally different. Totally different, because it changes the house placements. Anyways, if that's not making sense, don't worry. It will, if you want it to. And so he's born in his ascendant is the last section. The first section of Cancer is much more, the main section of Cancer, Pushya, is much more what we think of with Cancer. It's like symbol is the cow's udder, and it's ruled by Aditya, the mother, the great mother. Is nourishing, is deeply sattvic and incredibly spiritual and connected to Jupiter. Jupiter is exalted there, Cancer. Then the last part of Cancer is ruled by the Nagas, the serpent, underwater serpent dragons, much more biting, intense, but also has this great, powerful, mystical quality. And you get like this Jeff Buckley character that makes one of the greatest albums of all time, and then disappears under the river, underwater, and pulled under by a boat in Memphis, Tennessee, and just swimming, listening to Led Zeppelin, pulled under, and that's it. He came like a comet, and then, whoa, bring your tissues to that documentary, especially if you love him. And if you don't love him, you'll probably start to love him, and then you'll go back and you'll listen to Grace, and you'll be like, wow. Yeah. Most people have heard Hallelujah, from that album. But these are like great things that happen on our planet, And some of the greatest things. So we're always being careful not to get so caught up in the noise that we're not enjoying the really great things. And so much of that is art. But also it's just the brilliance of people and the brilliance of humans, including ourselves. It's amazing to be alive. It's the most precious, precious thing. Can I read you this one very quick little story about Patrul Rinpoche, the great Tibetan yogi, and then we'll move our bodies? After all, it is Mars Day. You came ready to work out, didn't you? No? So you say no story, straight to it? All right. Okay, story time. Story time. Relax. The tension always builds when telling a story, when the person reading the story still needs to look it up on his iPad where the story is. Okay, Patrul Rinpoche. This story about Patrul Rinpoche. Patrul Rinpoche is one of the great famous Tibetan yogis in the lineage of Milarepa. And it was said that when he would sit and when he would read Shantideva's great enlightenment text, The Way of the Bodhisattva, when Patrul would read that text and give his commentary on that, it even the animals would come and hang out and sit. He was very beloved, very revered. And so this is a story of the meeting of Patrul Rinpoche with Choying Rangdrol. One day, Patrul Rinpoche, the famous wandering hermit of the 19th century, accompanied by his friend Pema Dorje, decided to go to the monastery of Katak. He slowly walked along the shore of Black Lake, reached the glaciers, and then a sacred mountain, one of whose sides is a sheer cliff known as Queen of the Fierce Rock. On its lonely but blessed slopes lived a great meditator named Joying Rangjo, who had spent most of his life in retreat. He had not studied much, but he had reached the final stage of the contemplative path of the great perfection. For warm clothing, he wore only a worn-out sheepskin over a simple tunic, with the collar and hem sewn inside out. He had never traveled, having remained day and night sitting on his mat, absorbed in deep meditation. Upon arrival, Patrul Rinpoche prostrated 3 times before the hermit and asked him to deliver the teachings of the essence of luminous space. The first day, Joyung Rangjo folded his hands on his heart, recited a few verses of the teaching, and then repeated the first verse slowly 3 times. Alas, it is difficult to bring together the freedoms and favorable conditions conducive to the realization of enlightenment. Alas, it is difficult to bring together the freedoms and favorable conditions conducive to the realization of enlightenment. Tears rolled down his cheeks. Patrul Rinpoche began to cry, and Joying Rangjo remained silent for a moment. That was the day's teaching. The next day, Joying Rangjo taught in the same way, without recourse to texts, but drawing directly on his personal experience. Here are the words that he uttered. The life of beings rushes by like a mountain waterfall. He folded his hands again and weeping, continuing after a pause. Do not waste the favorable conditions and freedoms that you have been granted. Do not let your life be spent in vain. At that point, Pema Dorje, Patrul's companion, traveling companion, thought to himself, how amazing. Look at Patrul Rinpoche, a master who knows all the teachings perfectly, receiving his instructions as basic as that. Yet at the mere mention of the rarity of human existence, master and disciple both began to cry. It's a very beautiful story. You can see as if you're a student of any of these schools of Tibetan Buddhism, one of the very first things that you focus on is the impermanence of life. So what they're saying, the teaching was one of the very first things that any of us would learn on that path. And so I really love that story. It's really great. Okay? Satnam. If you ever have a chance to join us at Menla, Menla is started by Tibet House, which for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Tibet House was started originally in the 1980s by Bob Thurman, our dear friend and teacher, and Philip Glass, and Richard Gere, and I believe a couple others. And Bob has remained the champion of it, to this day. You can visit Tibet House in New York City, in Manhattan, and other places, but then Tibet House also has Menla, which is just north of the city, in the most beautiful part of the Catskills. And it sits in a valley where, very ancient times, a meteor hit, and it's incredible. In fact, you weigh just a little bit less in that part of, just a little bit. You weigh a little bit less there. And some of us are trying to gain weight. You know, some of us are trying to not put on weight because we're all different constitutions. And so Menla's an incredible place, and they've had many great events. It's one of my favorite places, period. I just love it there, and I just love Bob so much. And so Bob will be coming in the evenings for our winter solstice retreat at Menla. And of course, we'll also broadcast it virtually. I know not everyone can travel. And but it's we always do winter solstice events. It's a great, even though we know it's right before Christmas, but it's a good thing, you know. Take the time at the solstice, you know. It's such a magical moment. And, you know, shopping can be done before and after. But we all have our karmas. And so anyways, that's going to be fun. And Menla's, at one point, they had a Tibetan medicine conference there where His Holiness Dalai Lama also came. And of course, Bob's been very close friend of, they've been very close friends since the early 1960s when Bob rode a motorcycle across the, you know, from Europe to India, in those days when you could, and you know, ended up, you know, meeting the Tibetans in North India, and he became famous amongst the Tibetans because he learned Tibetan language so quickly. You know, he learned it, like, I think in a month or so. He was speaking it, and he's very tall and loud. And who is this, you know? Who is this Caucasian, you know, one-eyed? He had a teacher who was a Mongolian Buddhist monk in Jersey, I believe. What is his name? I can't remember, but also a really beautiful character. And anyways, Bob was, that was Bob's first teacher, and Bob was changing a tire, had a tire iron accident that took out one of his eyes at that time, and his teacher told him, well, you lost one eye, but you gained 1,000. So fast forward, he's in India and meets His Holiness. At that time, His Holiness is very much wanting to learn English. Bob is very much wanting to learn Tibetan, and they become talking buddies. And their friendship has remained ever since. I had the great pleasure of being in Dharamsala this past spring with Bob and His Holiness seeing each other after a long time. And it's incredibly moving to be around them anyways, but all of it's so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. And the Tibetan culture and the Tibetan people are just so beautiful. If you have a chance ever to go up there and just be around you, the compassion, you know. This is happening, this is a story of compassion and how deep it is. It's not empathy, you know. It includes empathy, obviously. But it's so much more. Bodhicitta is what it really is. And so anyways, Menla is, you know, built up this heart, you know, and it's an incredible place. So when His Holiness came, he stayed in one of the cabins, and then first morning, Bob comes to greet him outside of his cabin, and there's a bowl of milk outside of his cabin, and Bob asks the Dalai Lama, what is this bowl of milk, Your Holiness? And say, oh, it's for your Naga. Because there's this, you'll see when you get to Menla on December the 18th, that there's this really beautiful creek that flows through the property. And he said, yeah, don't worry though, it's a kind one. And so apparently they have a really big naga in their creek. These are these ethereal type of underwater serpents. In Asia and India, Tibet, these are not like I think as Westerners, we think of these as fairy tales often, you know, but these are very real living forces and entities, and so even like one of the constellations is a Shlesha ruled by the Nagas, and you'll see that come to life, you know. So these are not, you know, it's far out, but it's also not that far out when you're just interested in life. And then, of course, it's totally mysterious, but it's totally cool. And there is some type of mathematics to it, and yet, there's something that transcends even conception of any idea like mathematics or this. So that's why, eventually, when you Sat Nam Siddhi Vaheguru. You're using the focal point on the chakras as a technique of dharana. Eventually, though, you want to be absorbed in it. So, sunya, listening. Listening non-conceptually. So it's just listening. Concentrating on sound, listening, sunya. Then shunya, zero. The rest is experience. These are ideas, techniques that kind of guide you into these meditative spaces that have been accessed and practiced as long as we know, certainly going back thousands of years. So, first dharana, sunya, become absorbed. Listening. Listening, so it's not just purifying, it's enjoying. But that's why you have to also allow the uncomfortable. And a sadhana is to not just always want it to be pleasurable, but to know that often it won't be pleasurable. There's going to be something that must be worked through to get to the pleasure, and then even the pleasure becomes an obstacle if you're grasping onto it. And of course we grasp onto pleasure. That's how we're biologically designed. Give me the sweet. Take the bitter. Naturally, we're tender creatures. We don't want to feel pain. We do want to feel pleasure. And so, as long as you stay, though, in that basic program, the mind is still allowed to always do that on the surface level. Never do we drop down deeper. But then you're going through that same process when you've refined it on even just the outer level, so I'm not having as much anxiety in my life. I'm not having as much depression in my life. I'm feeling more happy as a human being. Already well worth doing it, wouldn't you say? And now you're going to go through that same similar type of a process, though, on a meditative level, where inside of this, if I really have the aspiration to just listen, sunya, to just practice dharana, to just go sunya, and to not entertain all the things of my mind, I keep finding out that this is not easy. And yet, the good thing is, in these types of practices, it's all great. You just keep going and you do it. And even if you noticed it even just one time, during the whole 62 minutes of the meditation, the rest of the time we're thinking about this and we kept being there. Nobody else knew, by the way. We were just like, we showed up, we did the sadhana. But also during that 62 minutes, which is a nice amount of time, I was able to cover and think about pretty much everything in my life. But that's not dharana. Damn. And that took a lot of work to get up that early. All right. I still feel blissful, though. Dang. Still feels good. But my point, though, is it gets even better. So, if you just put a little effort, not too hard on yourself, and to know it's really difficult. These are really difficult techniques, not because they're complicated, not because you have to be so smart, or not because you don't have the ability or faculty. It's totally not the case. Everybody does. You just have to want to. You have to want to practice it, and you have to figure out a way to be consistent enough in practicing it that you actually can practice it at that level. And also there's a version of it that is, I do a yoga class once a week, and I come to immersions sometimes. Like if I can come to one immersion a year, or a yoga class once a week, that's also a version of consistency. You see what I mean? So it doesn't have to be like me, that is, elongated periods of time every day. Elongated means an hour, hour and a half, sometimes less, sometimes more, but something every day, because that's the priority. And so there's different versions of it. So I'm not promoting any one specific way of doing it, because we're all different, and we're all engaging this from different points of life, different importances in our life. A lot of us have other things that we also do, So in other words, it doesn't have to be like austere. It can be just like something that works, and something that over time, even like one class a week, and then one immersion. I think the reason why I keep saying the immersion, I think the one class a week almost becomes, for a lot of people at least, almost becomes not realistic without some immersion every once in a while to get you deeper back into it. Because one time a week in a yoga class, that's the whole goal of Life Force Academy in terms of what we're doing inside our member portal with our weekly classes, to make it so that's not the case. And like, all right, we're connected. This is dope. This is fresh. I'm feeling good. This is also connecting me into the bigger things in my life. I'm concentrating my chi. We're going to keep going like that. But, as you know now, there's nothing like dropping down deeper. And so an immersion, even though it's a bit of a grind, isn't it? If you're doing an immersion style, it's a bit of a grind, but it's a good grind. Because it kind of takes you to that point of like, all right, this is ridiculous. And then keep going. Maybe it's not ridiculous. Can it not stop? But actually maybe can it stop some, but like not all the way stop. And so you start to enjoy the space you're inhabiting, in other words. And enjoying yes, of course, if you're coming to an immersion and you're around the community and so forth, but what I mean by that is you're enjoying your inner space. And when you're enjoying your inner space, you naturally enjoy your outer space. So what's going on the inner world is what is going to be reflected in the outer world. We can't always affect the circumstances, the stronger karmas in our life, which is what the horoscope is showing. You can't keep Saturn from transiting your moon. It's going to happen, every 27 and a half years. And so that will be good. That will be good, but it will be hard. There'll be something about it that will be hard. Will everything be hard? No. And it's a long period. So, I did say we would just read a story and then do yoga. Okay, let's do yoga. Gure Namah, Jugat Gure Namah, Sat Gure Namah, Siddhi Gurudeve Namah, Ad Gure Namah, Jugat Gure Namah, Sat Gure Namah, Siddhi Gurudeve Namah, Ad Gure Namah, Jugat Gure Namah, Sat Gure Namah, Siddhi Gurudeve Namah. Okay, warriors, come on to your hands and knees. Cat cow. Mars is so powerful, but he needs to be in a container that shows him how to penetrate without being too hot or too sharp or too quick. So to bring up the fire in a sustainable way so that it doesn't create inflammation or anger or irritability, and instead creates warmth, excellent blood tissue, luster to the skin, light to the eyes. Inhale, head is up. Exhale, head is down. And good. Come sitting on your heels. If you put a globe around a candle, it makes a beautiful light, doesn't it? So that's how to work with the fire, the tejas. So people go so quick and such heavy, trying like really fiery all the time. It's not like it's wrong necessarily, it's just gonna provoke a lot of pitta. And fire element is the one element that you really have to be mindful with. Because when it does overflow, it's not great, you know? And it can hurt not only ourselves, but others. Fire is powerful. So it's acknowledgement that you have power within you, and to, tend to it in a wise way. Especially doing yoga practices, we do bring it up. As we do bring up the chi, you bring up the prana, you bring up the tejas, the subtle heat, but also simultaneously, you must bring up the ojas. The ojas is the subtle earth water. Air ether is the subtle, is the prana. Fire is the tejas. Earth water is the ojas. Ojas is what gives good immune system, gives the mind good contentment, basic happiness, santok. You with me? So how do I create ojas? How do I bring up ojas? Love, devotion. So even if we're secular in our practice or in our disposition, in our way in the world, still, if you're going to practice yoga, truly, you have to find a way to give love an avenue. And that's called directing your devotion, or come up with a new semantic for it, but it has to be love in motion in a way that can be kind of done consistently through a mantra. But what is the mantra in devotion of? In traditional cultures, it's all personified in living beings, like Nataraj, Shiva, in his dancing form. Holding the Damaru in one hand, keeping the time of the universe. Giving his palm to you in the other hand, being fearless. The ring of fire, the dance of creation, preservation, and destruction, the 5 elements. His dance has the 5 acts, 5 themes. So for earth, water, fire, air, and space. So you bring up the prana, you bring up the tejas, you must also bring up the ojas. You must also bring up the love. What is your devotion about? What are you serving? What is life about on the big level? Not the I serve this mission, here's my brand. No. It's no brand. What are you serving? Hands on your lap. Sniffing, it's a sniff. You see, it's not heavy. It's light, and yet it's also deep. Smooth. Why is it deep? Because my rhythm's deep. Give yourself a great, nice, beautiful rhythm. Soft chest, Jalandhar Bandh, tuck your chin, lift the chest. Third eye gaze. Exhale. Here it comes sitting, cross-legged, Sukhasana. Sit bones, heart held high. Spinal flexes, I'm facilitating a meditative zone. I'm practicing dharana. I'm drawing my chi away from all the other things in my life. And I'm centralizing my energy so that my beam stays bright. My mind stays clear. And what is truly important remains what's important. The main thing is keeping the main thing the main thing. What do you serve? Draw up the root lock, rectal sphincter, sex organ, navel, 3 distinct points. Soften the chest, soften your gaze, third eye space. Exhale, Sunya. To your shoulders like so. I'm very excited for how your experience of Sunya, listening in this space, all of us everywhere, in the space of this immersion, transfers into all the other parts of life in interesting and unpredictable but pleasant ways. To experience Sunya is to experience a deep meditation. Whereas real Sunya, Shravana, is not listening to what's on the surface of the mind. But Sunya is what you hear, poetically speaking, and sometimes also literally speaking. It is absolutely not limited to literal. Sunya is what you hear when all the chatter on the surface disappears. Suspension, pelvic floor, Mula Bandha. Exhale, Sunya. Relax. So if there's any, just one moment to not tolerate your mind's wanderings. It's inhale deep, suspend the whole time. I didn't even consider dharana. What dharana? Yeah, it wasn't even a thought. I did the exercise. You can see it. I'm on camera. left, right, doing the whole thing. But also the mind was, anywhere but there, because it's easy enough to be on autopilot, and still it's good benefit. But yet, we haven't yet begun the practice of yoga at that point. So, Patanjali's first sutra now begins the practice of yoga. As Drupada interpreted it for us, I'm sure on more than one occasion, is that you've been, this word now in Sanskrit is atta. It's not an insignificant now, it's a very auspicious word now, atta. I've been wandering my whole life, my mind has been everywhere, and I've been finding after any way that I can get happy, that I can find pleasure. I've gone to extremes, and gone into the deep valleys. And then finally, now, begins the practice of yoga. It's neutralize. Chitta, the second sutra, Chitta Vritti, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga is neutralization of the vortices of the chitta, the mind field. Centralization of the chi via dharana. From that dharana comes dhyana, the shunya. And out of that comes samadhi, absorption. See? Out of that, revitalization. All the tissues layers, revitalize. Revitalization of path, purpose, feeling, magnetics. Revitalization of your confidence, inner confidence. Revitalization of your sense of zest for life. Revitalization of you feel loved. No one else is around me, love me. So what? I got it. Not always are we in that space, but if we have techniques that can get us towards that space, that's kind of helpful, no? You have the power, not somebody else outside of us. Chest lift. Squeeze up. Exhale. Open the legs wide like a V shape. Inhale, center. Open the life nerve a little bit. Go ahead. Check. Inhale, center. Fold, center. Good. Shake the legs out. Standing up like this. Fingers firm. Mars is penetrative. Venus is the feminine Shakti, Mars is the masculine Shakti. Legs are strong, fingers are firm. Chest, heart, soft. Fingers erect. Legs strong. Chest out, shoulders down. This is not a stretch, it's a strengthening. You exhale here, then you draw your navel in and lift through your pelvic floor. You even use this leg to lift you, it's engaged. Exhale down. Take your time. Breathe and build. Mars is also technical, so it pays attention to detail. So it's really like, it kind of feels the difference between the sphincter of the pelvis, kind of the muscles of the sexual organ, and the navel point below your belly button. So once you kind of get that feel for today, as much as the toning of the muscles allows you to feel at this point, more you do it, more you can feel. Once you get to where you can be, sustain it by letting it swing. Go. Inhale up. Exhale. Relax. Okay. Mars is our muscles, muscle tissue. So some of us, we have stronger Mars. Some of us, we have weaker Mars. Some of us in between. What's better? Stronger Mars, right? No. There's no real better. It's just, you got what you got. And some of us are strong in one thing, but you're weaker in other things. This is life. But then you got this friend, they're really strong in that other thing, and you really benefit from that. And they really benefit from how you are, you know. They're real go-getters, but you're not really a real go-getter, but you're like nice to be around, you know. You like to, it's like, you know how to chill. You know, and to relax. And the Mars person needs someone like that around them, otherwise they're going to burn out. Yeah? So there's not a better or worse. However, this does show us our tendencies. So if tendencies to be quick and fast and fiery, that's going to work out for me for a good part of my life. And eventually it's going to cause me problems unless I refine it. So if I don't have weak Mars, in other words, I have a little more challenge generating, like for instance, muscle tissue. I'm just a softer person. That doesn't mean that it won't really benefit me to generate some. You know, I'll have to work harder to do it. But if I want to keep my vitality up, especially as I age, I must. Yeah? Doesn't mean to extremes. We're talking refinement here. It doesn't take much. We don't need to be ripped necessarily. You get ripped if you want. But this has nothing to do with what it is. It's about giving the organism good confidence that it can feel at the cellular level. That comes from keeping your muscle tissue healthy. Yeah? And that's just going to be relative to your constitution. Kapha constitution. They're really the least likely to want to do this. But they'll benefit the most. That's the weird part of it. The Pitta people, they're already kind of got chiseled from the... All right, let's go. They're going to really want to do it. They're going to be first in line. Let's go. They need it the least. They need to get to the spa. But they're on the golf course. But the reality is we have to do both. A lot of the Ayurveda people is like, oh, you have so much Pitta, don't do Pitta. You're going to do Pitta. You need to do Pitta. If you're a competitive person, you got to find healthy ways to compete. You know, exercise your fire. So it's not diminishing it. is refining it so it expresses itself in creative ways, not destructive ways, at all the different levels of our life, yeah? Vata people, you just can't get them to focus. So are they going to do it? Yes, they're going to do it, but they might not show up. All right? Come front to your mats. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, hands by the feet. Left foot back, left knee down. Inhale. Exhale. Hands down. Courtney, face me, por favor. Come downward face, just so you can see. Downward facing dog. Inhale up onto your toes into a plank, and then chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Take that left leg up into like a pigeon. Yeah, perfecto. Just relax to where your body relaxes. If you can come forward, do so. If you feel great just where you are, stay there. Downward facing dog. Inhale into the plank. And then bring the knees and the chest and the chin. And just slide down, hips down. Keep most of the belly down, tops of the feet down, then just very low cobra. Press the butt back to the heels, downward facing dog. And bring the right leg up like that. It's a nourishing, it's an enlivening, it's a tuning, you know, it's a centralization of chi and prana. It's putting ourselves in the great deep biorhythm of life. Come downward facing dog. Hold the posture here. Look up. Are your thumbs aligned? Are your fingers aligned? Lift through the backs of your legs some. Draw your shoulders away from your ears. Step the left foot forward. Drop the right knee. Exhale. Reach up, inhale. Exhale, hands down. Inhale into a flattened back. Exhale, fold. Sweep up, inhale. Namaste. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Step the right foot. Drop the right knee. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands down. Downward facing dog. Exhale. Inhale, plank pose. Exhale, halfway down. Upward dog. Downward facing dog. Inhale the right foot forward. Drop the left knee down. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, step into a flattened back. Fold. Inhale, sweep up. exhale. Namaste. Gaze the third eye. ¿Quieres más? Sí. Inhale. Ready? Exhale, swan dive. Inhale, flat back. Step your left foot, tall lunge. Inhale here. Exhale, the hands down. Push that back heel back. Downward facing dog. Exhale. Please into the plank pose. 5 push-ups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down dog. 2 breaths. Inhale, plank. 5 push-ups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down dog. Inhale, plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Up dog. Down dog. Yes. Inhale, step the left foot forward, high lunge. Push your right heel back. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands down. Inhale, flat back. Fold. Sweep up. Namaste. Agua. The Saturday night of a Life Force Academy immersion, usually something magical happens. This was a few years back. We call it Tantric Sound Journey. I'll explain why yet later. But this, everything you've been hearing is from a few years ago. Of an LFA Saturday night, or Sunday and Friday night, one of the nights. One of the nights. I'll work on the spiel. Okay. Point being, tonight is one of those nights. The thing about muscles is like, can we get to where we can lift our own weight? That's a nice little thing. Can we get to where we can kind of like relatively easy lift our own weight? Maybe not right now, but go into daily practices and do some of these beautiful 30-minute, 40-minute practice that we created. You lift your own weight. And also, you'll centralize your chi, balance your magnetic field, get a beam. Inhale. Swan dive, exhale. Inhale, flat back, right foot, high lunge. Did we do right foot already? Inhale. Exhale. Downward dog. Inhale, plank. Chaturanga. Up dog. Down dog. 2 breaths. Inhale, plank. 5 push-ups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down dog. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, plank. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, down dog. Inhale, plank, chaturanga, up dog, down dog. Inhale, right foot, high lunge. Press the left heel back. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Flatten the back. Fold. Inhale, sweep up. Namaste. Good. I don't know, we don't really have a daily practice with like 1, 2. Should we make that one? Yeah, for the Mars. The Mars people are like, yes! The Kava people's like, nah. I mean, do it. Do it. We're not gonna probably look at it, but do it. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Step or jump back. Chaturanga. Up dog. Down dog. Right foot 45-degree angle, warrior 2. Come on. Hold a confidence. Fingertip to fingertip. Chest. Straight, then just turn the head. Get it to burn, that's good. Breathe. Inhale, straighten that front leg. Reach forward. Triangle. If you can't reach your hand behind you, grab your left thigh. Or just in that direction. Open your chest up towards the ceiling. Inhale, pivot your torso forward and fold into a pyramid. Feels good? Feels good. Soften into it. Down dog. Inhale, plank, chaturanga. Up dog. Down dog. Inhale. Exhale, step or jump. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. If you jump at first clunky, as you get stronger, less clunky, but it's less about the muscle and more about have the prana help float you, you know, in life in general, have the prana help float you. Inhale, sweep up, forward, flat back, step or jump back. Inhale, exhale. Make your left foot 45-degree angle. Step your right foot, warrior 2. I bet y'all look good. Back leg strong. You hear my southern draw coming back? I better get out of here. Sink. Straighten your front leg, inhale. Reach. Triangle. breathe. Open your chest up. Inhale, pivot forward, full pyramid. Downward facing dog. Inhale, plank. Chaturanga. Up dog. Down dog. Inhale. And the knees, exhale. Step or jump. Flat back. Inhale. Inhale. Sweep back. Exhale. Namaste. Thing about an immersion, I want you to leave with momentum behind you. You know, I want you to leave like not just better, but like if we come in a funk, we're not only going to get out of the funk, but we're going to glow. We're going to shine by the end of it. If we're feeling good and we come feeling good, we're going to supercharge that, you know, polish it up, make it more subtle, refine it, get it a little deeper even. So it works everywhere, doesn't it? Come and relax. But like not really relax, just more relaxed than doing push-ups. So maybe you've never even done a lot of those exercises much, so like a Surya Namaskar. People say, oh, it's Hatha Yoga. It's all Kundalini Yoga. You know, it's whatever you want to call it. People aren't as familiar with those types of kriyas, essentially is what they are. Always being taught in, you know, one brand of Kundalini Yoga, but Kundalini Yoga is not defined, its essence, by the types of exercises that are done. It's the inner science that defines it. Okay? I mean, I actually didn't mean like Shavasana, but y'all keep it going. We got like half the class in Shavasana, which I agree is a huge percentage if you're not trying to get people to go into Shavasana. It shows like, what do you call it, Mahan Kalpa? Pilot error. But now I feel bad. So my codependency. Myself. With that being said, yesterday morning or 2 mornings ago during sadhana, we had a pilot error, and I was not the pilot. This is Mahan Kalpa, for those who have never met him. He's close family, and he's also a huge reason why all the music at LFA, all the way back through Simrit's album, sound as incredible as they do. Is because of also his brilliance. Okay, we were going to continue in the same Martian fashion that we have started. And are you feeling up for it? Do you have lots of water? Do you remember the key thing about raising up fire? What do we want to raise up with it? Okay, water, yes. Ojas, yes. And then talk to me in practical. Yeah, love, compassion, love. So however that watery, love, devotional energy, whenever we're going to bring up heat, you want to combine it with that. This is why singing in the shower is so incredibly helpful. It is, because anytime you can be in water and get love in your heart, it helps your ojas. So we're not only just bringing up ojas when we're doing kriyas, in general in life, we want to increase ojas, and the primary way we increase ojas is cultivation of devotion in our life, cultivation of love in our life. And yes, we hope that love just happens to us. You know, Venus comes to town, and you get struck by Cupid's arrow, and boom, and finally, there she is. Or there he is, Prince Charming, and then, the struggles, my life, I finally got away. And then you wake up the next day, and can I even get a breath? I mean, this guy is like, overbearing, and and like, you know, and all of a sudden you're looking for freedom again. So you either you're in the relationship and you're looking for freedom, and you're out of the relationship and you're looking for freedom. And in both cases, you can't find the freedom. You got the freedom, you were in the relationship, then you got out of the relationship, freedom! Then all of a sudden it's like, wow, it's really lonely in here. It's like you say, your heart starts longing. And then it's like, I want some freedom. And then you go for the freedom again, but you go the freedom in the form of the relationship. Until eventually, of course, the mind starts to notice kind of how ridiculous this is getting. And then you start to say, well, maybe there's a common denominator here, you know? And it's the inner patterning. It's the inner patterning in these perceptions. You know, in these different situations, I'm kind of longing for the same thing, but the one thing that has been more constant than anything has been discontent. But also inside of it, there was just like seasons of bliss. Seasons of bliss. And then here comes discontent, because life is always opening us. Life is always kind of showing us the next way of blossoming. Sometimes through pleasures, sometimes through pains. But in both cases, if that's what we're following, you know, if that's what we're following, we'll be less likely to just jump ship of the relationship if that's our tendency. And others have the tendency of like, you only feel safe in the relationship. Some of us have the tendency, you feel safe by the idea of not being in a relationship. But all of us trying to feel safe, all of us trying to feel free, and those two go together. Safety and freedom. So, it's a dance, isn't it? It's nothing we can just figure out intellectually. We have to dance. We have to be in rhythm. Okay? So, here you go. Rhythm. Yeah? Your hands like this. O-shaped mouth. Your O-shaped mouth, inhale, left hand sits on top of the right on the peak. Then they come back, palms facing up above the legs. Every exhale, draw your navel point in, lifting your diaphragm. This is called clarifying the subtle body. Mars is the soldier. Someone with a strong Mars can command attention. Can make things happen. Has ambition. So for that person, absolutely, one must exercise their Mars. Otherwise, it will exercise itself, and usually, not always the most desirable ways. because it's festered up inside like a little bit shook up of a soda bottle. And when it gets under stress, somebody said something in the wrong way, it's gonna burst. And that's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt them, then it's also gonna hurt me. So, fire, we have to attend to. So the strong Mars person, exercise the Mars and soften it, smooth it out. Some of us are so smooth already, we can make a little more penetration, a little more specificity. Some of us so flowy when it comes to a little more penetration. Don't worry, you won't stop being flowy. You're always gonna be flowy. This is called refinement, you know? Exercising the muscles that aren't gonna really get exercised unless you put forth some willpower. Breathe. Third eye gaze. This is called polishing the field, clarifying the subtle body. Breathe. Yeah, breathe. Sunya. Place your hands above your head. Straighten up, tall. Shoulders drop. Exhale. Inhale. Shoulders release. Stretch up. Stretch around. Exhale. Inhale. Stretch up. Stretch around. Relax. Shake your arms out. Bueno. Remember the mantra? You got the lyrics? Hud, 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 hud. You remember it? Tip of the tongue, navel point. Okay? That's so cute. A lot of people think we're about to do this. I wish. Okay, we're gonna be like, first start like this. This is called Shunya Kriya. Everybody wants the Shunya, nobody wants the Kriya. Well, people don't know that they want Shunya. First, they don't know there is a Shunya. But then when you realize there is a Shunya, then you realize what the Shunya is, then you want it. Everybody wants it. Zero gravity. You know, what Wayne Shorter called the constant, what Carlos Santana calls the universal tone, what John Coltrane called a love supreme. This comes out of that state, you know, and it's not just that's just one lineage, you know, of American jazz musicians, but they're practicing dharana, and they're blending it with devotion, and they're going into, you know, samadhi-like spaces, and they're creating out of that, and those are things that uplift the world and heal the world. So I'm so excited about what it's going to be like coming out of yours, you know? But first, you have this horrible kriya in front of us. So don't tell anyone about this one, because then they're not going to want to come. Palms open, hud. Palms down, hud. Simple. Fingers firm, chest soft. Easy enough, right? Okay? Hud, 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 hud. Just this, then a real relaxation. This will require really staying in touch with the spirit of perseverance. To bring forth your energy. And to not get too hot or inflamed. To be powerful. Never lose your softness. Be consistent, but be not rigid. Tip of the tongue, chant it out. The vast majority of us, it's a very difficult kriya. So, if you're finding it, the narrative isn't, I'm not good at it. There's no such thing. You can't really be good at it. You can do it, or you can not do it. It might be super challenging, it might not be. For most, this is very challenging. Very, very challenging. It doesn't mean you can't do it. At some point, you will hit the threshold where it cannot continue. That is the overwhelming feeling. Never exacerbating an injury. Acute pain is never okay. You always disengage. Otherwise, you endeavor, stay the course. Instead of meeting your pain with pity, can you meet her with compassion? Can you have compassion for your body? And also the compassion that will get you to build inner strength, to persevere, to rise up, to come alive. Tip of the tongue. Try to only move your arms. This Kriya will create a sound in you that maybe you've never heard. Chant. Let the mantra carry you. Chant. Don't be jerky. Don't make your movement jerky. Navel point. The whole power comes from the navel point. All the Shakti, the navel is the spark. That is your spark plug, navel point. Just below the belly button. All your wishes, all your desires. Activate. Hara. 60 seconds. Sunya. Hard, 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 Inhale, fingers out, palms up. Slowly relax. Sunya. Please relax on your backs. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Shake your arms. Shake your legs out. Shake your arms out. Hug the knees to your chest. Rock a couple times. Okay, please have a lot of water. Well, that was amazing to witness. Very inspiring. Thank God it's over. Good job, everybody. That's what I mean. You can't do it. You don't do it well. You know, who does that well? You know, it's just, it's warrior work. You know, it's warrior work. Great job. Amazing Kriya, though, really. Something. Okay. I want to share. I want to look at a chart. I want to show you a chart. I want us to look at a horoscope together before we go have some lunch. If you up for it? All right. So, this is a great Gemini. Gemini on the ascendant. The great 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet, who just in July celebrated his 90th birthday. Okay, so I don't know if you can see the chart so well, but you'll see on the how this works is that there, thank you. Muchas gracias. So the way this works, if you're not familiar with it, and don't worry, if you're not familiar with it, you don't need to know too much of what it works like. But just for a moment, you will just see this, that what this is at the top of the top diamond there. You see the top center diamond? That center middle? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, that, forget what's in it. Already our minds are looking what's in it. Just for now, that's the eastern horizon at the moment His Holiness took his first breath. Okay? And so he was born in Tibet, and he was discovered to be the Dalai Lama, the reincarnation of the previous Dalai Lama at the age, I think, of 2 or 3. But he was born to his beautiful mother in Tibet. I don't have the date right in front of me. But July the 6th, in which year? Do we know? We don't know that. So 90 years ago, July the 6th. And what time? These are the things we have to know to get the birth chart. Also what time, and a lot of people, of course, don't have their birth time, so you can do, if you know kind of close to when it was time, or sometimes if you get the birth certificate from the hospital and it's like 11 a.m. on the dot, it's always a little suspicious, because you are looking at the ascendant, which changes many times in a single day, so the more specific the better for the birth time. And but if then you look at that, your chart, and you see, well, here you see ascendant means AS. So if, I gotta bring it up on my screen too. If you see what degree your ascendant is in your chart, oh, well, we'll see his is 1 degree. It says ascendant 1, it's 1 degree. But in their culture, they would definitely have an exact birth time, you know. And because in that culture, you know, astrology is not a underground hustle like it is here. It's mainstream. Do y'all feel like that sometimes? Your astrology is an underground hustle. Okay, so Gemini was on the eastern horizon when the time that he was born. And so then what you do, and what it says there is that we can tell pretty much what time he was born. Why? Even though I don't have the time in front of me, how do we know pretty much what time of the day he was born at least? We know where the sun is. And so the sun is where? It's right on the eastern horizon. What does that mean? It's just after sunrise. His sun's at 20 degrees east of Gemini in the first house, so it's sunrise time. I'm just saying, I think it's nice to know like kind of the physical part of it as well. And also, if you had a telescope, you would be able to see that Mercury was there too. And K2 is there. So the first thing that pops out for this horoscope, and thank you, Aki, you can switch it back to our look before as you're able to. So the main thing I wanted to point out here, there he is, and he's a Gemini. And he's a very curious human being. He's famous when he was young for, if you ever watched 7 Years in Tibet, for instance, when he's famous when he's young for taking apart clocks and putting them back together, and very curious and always wants to know things, and he's always been that way, and he still is that way. He's always like, he wants to talk to the scientists. He's not like, oh, we already know all this stuff. He's like, no, tell us. Bob tells us, was he with like Carl Sagan? He was on the stage and he was asked, what if, Your Holiness, he's like, what if we could prove without a shadow of a doubt that reincarnation does not exist, cannot exist? What if we can prove that? And he thought about it. He's like, I would stop believing in reincarnation. And then he got really excited. He's like, how are we going to do this experiment? So he's great. And so Gemini is curious. Gemini is very intelligent. Gemini likes to do many things, but Gemini is also fun and funny and childlike. And he has one of the great laughs. You probably heard me tell that story where I on that same trip with Bob, had to have a short moment with him, as many did that day, and he comes up to me, and I go to him, and he's like that, very like, but even more serious looking, and I'm just like, whoa, and just like, wow, it's really like, as advertised, this human being is a really extraordinary human being, and you can feel it. And so he's very serious. And then his attendant, who's his nephew, is a whisper in my ears. He wants to pull your beard. He really likes beards. And then he does. He pulls it, still looking very serious, and then he lifts it up, like he's inspecting underneath it, very curious. And then he pulls it down, and he looks at me and busts out laughing. He busts out in his great laugh, and then everybody busts out. It was on, it was just one beautiful, sweet moment for him, but for me, I was like weeping afterwards. And so he's a great Gemini, a great one to to learn about. I like learning about the inspiring people because it also teaches you about how you really learn. Astrology, we all are trying to figure out our own chart, but the way to learn is to look at other people's charts. Ultimately, in yogic astrology, we do use our own charts, but the journey to doing that is you have to look at other people's charts. Particularly those who you know really well. Or sometimes famous people who you know their lives, that gives you some cool insights, but nothing will give you the insights of knowing, your son's chart or your significant other's chart and these types of things. But that's why when we do it, we always start, you only go into a chart with bodhicitta, with compassion and love, not going in there to prove something. See, I knew he was like this, Hey, you see what he did when I told him to whatever, and the other way around, And then, because you could use it that way, you absolutely could use it that way to kind of verify, all of the horrible things, in both your own mind and in others' mind. But no, and we do look at that, but they're actually not horrible things. They're tendencies. They're tendencies. But then what we also do is we look at, all right, what is the desirable expression of that tendency? Because we like it when it's in this form, we just don't like it when it's that form, We like it when that Venus energy is really giving us pleasure, but when that feminine Shakti comes in her fierce form, we don't often like it as much, but it doesn't mean that it's still not, an extraordinary thing. But when our tendencies go in destructive mode, we need to refine them so they get into their more creative mode. We all have the tendencies on both sides, don't we? And the good news is we end up getting happier and happier and happier because of it all. We're less feeling lousy about ourselves because we're not being as critical. But that's the key, though. That's why I'm always emphasizing that disposition, especially when you're going into astrology. Because otherwise you can use it to verify the things that you don't like about yourself, about others. If that's your wish in life, to verify the things that we don't like, which that often is our mind's tendencies, we will be successful at it. That's how the mind works. But also if we want to verify what we do love, we will be successful at that. So we have to decide, what is our endeavor? Maybe our endeavor is to experience reality and not to verify our preferences or our suspicions. Maybe, maybe not. When are we going to get to do the experiment? How are we going to get to do it? So that's the disposition going into it. So the next thing you see, remember what I said about we start with the ascendant and then we go to what? The Lord of the Ascendant. So, pop quiz. Who is the Lord of Gemini? Buddha, Mercury. And where is Dalai Lama's Mercury? It's right in the first house. So anytime you get a planet in the first house, it's going to be pronounced, especially if the planet is the ruler of the first house. They call that Mahapurusha Yoga, and this is Buddha's version of Mahapurusha Yoga. It creates a great person. Mahapurusha Yoga is when Mercury is exalted or in its own home. And you see, look at the chart, do you see the four diamonds in the middle? The bigger ones? Okay, top, bottom, left, right. Those are called the kendras, or the cornerstones of the chart. So you get a planet exalted or in its own home in any of those houses, it creates Mahapurusha Yoga. And Mercury's version of that is called Bhadra Yoga, makes one a poet, gives them a really great way of communicating. Yeah, but it doesn't always mean in the way that we expect it to mean. It's like, okay, they'll be the perfect. It's going to be in this person's unique thing. So if you take the Dalai Lama, I think an extraordinary communicator, but in so many ways, via humor. He's beloved by the entire, and he took an incredible tragedy in his life, and he has shared his people and their culture with the entire world. Yeah. And to a certain extent, in the world community, they're being very much forgotten, and they don't get bitter, but they stand tall, and they keep fighting. By the way. Very humble. For ages, the Dalai Lamas have been both the spiritual and the political leaders. The great 14th he's took himself off the political mantle and created the Tibetan diaspora. The Parliament of Tibet is now in India, in Dharamsala. The Chinese will not agree that it even exists, of course. And so they've created he created a democracy. The times change. So it's not stuck in something, and maybe, this is he's also the first to say, I'm just a simple, ordinary monk. He's not proclaiming that he knows definitely the right way, but he's very strong in, and when he's clear in his way, And he's just a beautiful, beautiful human being. He has a moon in Leo, so he doesn't mind being in the spotlight. And who's the moon with? Venus. And number 5 means Leo. That's why you're going to have to, before the concert tonight, memorize the zodiac. The order of the zodiac. So when you hear the number 1, you're going to be like Aries. You hear the number 7, you're going to be like Libra. And then you hear the number 9, you're going to be like Sagittarius. Everybody's going to be quizzed right after dinner. And if you hear the number 5, you'd be like Leo, eventually. And then you can really start to be, move through these things and really start to get it. So anyways, Moon and Venus together gives him also just this a really beautiful emotional qualities and expressive. He has quite a nice, beautiful feminine nature, His Holiness. And this is so. And then the next. So that's just a couple things based on ascendant and Lord of the Ascendant, and then the moon. And we could spend the whole rest of the day just on any one of those things and kind of go deeper into them, and you start to explore things. But what ends up happening with our own charts when we're looking at, you learn one thing, and you see, well, you have Gemini in the ascendant. It's like, I kind of am like that. I do many things at once. I have a lot of Gemini energy. That guy over there has a lot of Gemini energy. So sometimes we might accidentally pull the wrong cord, We got many things going on at the same time. But on one hand, it's a superpower. That Gemini energy can be ding. But then, of course, also it's like the great mystery I'm always trying to figure out is, where did I put my glasses, Has anyone seen my phone? Because the Gemini energy is many things are happening. And so it's all everything, It has its strengths, and then it has its liabilities, and you find that out about yourself. And then, after some time, you're gonna there's this other aspect of your ascendant. So you're a Libra ascendant. It's you realize how relational you are relative to even a lot of other people. We're all social animals. But a Libra ascendant, their universe is going to really be centered around relationship a lot more than another person that's, say, like Saturn ruled or like a Capricorn ruled or something. But our universe revolves around relationship. But the way we operate in the world, how we connect things together, because Libra is air element. It's connecting how important social life is. And then a little later on, you'll realize these other parts that are Libra that you weren't even thinking about. It's like, that's totally me too. And so it keeps on over time just revealing different things. But it takes time, it's not anything you can learn quickly, but it's profound immediately, and then it keeps on getting kind of layers upon layers. So it's a beautiful thing. And so I at least wanted us to look at one chart together. And if people have an interest in this, we'll, as Joshua mentioned, I'm going to start doing them in the LFA members portals once a month to start with. If people really like it, maybe we'll increase. But we'll do a little bit of create a theme for the day for this. Probably what's going on in the stars will guide that. And then each month we'll look at a few people's charts and we'll go through it. But it's not just a private consultation. I don't do those. But it would be a teaching and learning experience for everyone, and if you like to have yours a part of that, you'll be able to, but it'll be a queue. I don't know how long the queue will be. If it's really long, that'll be good, because then we'll do more, So we'll see. Or maybe it'll all fall apart and nobody will like it. We don't do that many of them at all. But I don't think that'll happen. I think this will be a really awesome thing. That'll be fun. And it's fun for me too, because it's how we learn. It's by looking at charts, and you make these principles come alive in a real human's life. And you ask questions. And it's cool, and it reveals itself. And it's like, wow. And we shine a light on the brilliance. We also shine a light on the blind spots. But you shine a light predominantly on the brilliance. That's the key, I think. So with His Holiness also, you'll learn, if you take a deeper study of astrology, you'll learn that Saturn is a good planet for Geminis. That you'll learn that because you have planets that are what are quote unquote benefic and planets that are quote unquote malefic. What is Mars considered? Malefic, because Mars is hot, and like I said earlier, that's why you gotta, when you're working with Mars, you always, bring it up with the softness, with the ojas, with the love, with devotion, because Mars is malefic, and if it expresses itself too much and it overpowers other things, it creates accidents, it creates violence. We can't act like there's not violence in this world. Mars is the planet of violence. And weapons and militaries and these types of things. These should be treated with the utmost respect and the utmost care and a supreme compassion, the use of such things. And so Mars is a malefic. Saturn is a malefic. Saturn's called the Great Malefic. Sun is even considered a malefic kind of, because it's just so hot. But the sun is not like Mars. So don't worry, the afternoon will be very different than Sun is still blazing, sun is bold. And sun is hot. Sun is considered a type of malefic. I kind of put it in its own category because it's also the sun. It's the only positive force in the universe. All the other planets are reflecting the light of the sun. It is the only thing in our universe that is actually generating. This is where Nataraj is in the ring of fire, and he's doing the dance of creation, preservation, and destruction. And so the sun is the central thing. So the benefics, Jupiter is the great benefic, Venus is a benefic. These don't mean they're good or bad, really. Benefics have greater ease. They have greater. They're more pleasurable. We all like prosperity. Jupiter. We all like love. Venus. But of course, Venus can get totally out of hand. Jupiter can get totally out of hand, and they can create all sorts of problems. So it's not that simple and black and white. And so we shouldn't look at, malefic bad, benefic good. But of course we do over and over again until we train ourselves not to. Because you're going to look at your chart and it's like, I wanted Venus on my ascendant, not Saturn. But that's part of what makes you great, And so, and Saturn will make you, then hara. Not even necessarily with their arms out, but that becomes the name that they call Shiva. Hara, Mahadev, Natara, Shiva. It is the cosmic force, it is the great cosmic energy. And then in some contexts it becomes the father, in some contexts it becomes the son, and the moon becomes the mother. That's the problem. There's not just the father, there's also a moon. How is it that they're the same size from our perspective on the earth? They're millions of miles away from each other and they're not the same size at all, but from our perspective of the earth, they're the exact same size, so that when they go across each other, it creates a new moon or a full moon perfectly, an eclipse perfectly. Who designed this mathematics? Pretty interesting, pretty mysterious. So, benefics are Jupiter and Venus and moon, but they say moon's more benefic when it's waxing, less benefic when it's waning. They all just different qualities. As soon as you start going good and bad, you're no longer kind of practicing yogic astrology. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, the yogi does not discern between auspicious and inauspicious. The yogi's going in between and find the love supreme. So, which contains all the goods and the bads. So then you have Mercury, which is mutable. it tends to blend with whatever it's with. Generally, it's benefic. Then you have Rahu and Ketu, the nodes, and they're considered malefics. What's up with that? More malefics than benefics? But these are just the different energies of life that are always circulating around. It can be as complex as you want it, and it can be simple too. But if some people are like, that's real cool, nice, I'm just going to do the yoga. I respect that very much. And other people like to learn about this stuff, and if you do, it does create nice insights, particularly if you want to really shine a light on your unique brilliance, number one, and also your unique blind spots, number two, in a very gentle way. In a very gentle way that's not going to decrease self-confidence, but increase self-confidence, improve relationships, and give us some kind of something really specific for us to work with when we're doing our dharana practices. And when those things come up, now we're able to observe the patternings of our mind, because what this type of thing helps us do, and also Ayurveda, it helps us give language to different patterning tendencies of the mind, which helps us identify those tendencies. When you can identify a tendency, then you can start to work with it. True? My first thing is recognizing I got a problem. And then once I recognize it, you take the power away from the problem. Spotted you. Okay, good. But the other first thing is to recognize I got a brilliance. Everyone does. Everyone does. The living beings, by nature, brilliance. And how is the brilliance expressing it through your life? Well, you already are knowing this. But this can also give additional language that can assist in that great discovery. Don't you think? Sat Nam, Om Namah Shivaya. Have a beautiful lunch. And this afternoon we're going to have an amazing session. I get the privilege of being joined again by these wonderful artists. And then this evening there's going to be a special, very like a tantric sound journey. You can sit, relax, you can be ready to dance. You can do whatever you want, but it's going to be fun and beautiful and enjoyable. And so everyone at home, we'll be back here at 3:30, right? 3:30 Eastern Time. And excited for a beautiful day, rest of the day and evening, and great job on this session. Thanks everyone. Do y'all have any announcements for the virtual people? All right, everyone at home. See you very soon. Thanks so much for being here. Satnam.